Good morning, traders. Wednesday, February 27th, quarter to 6 a.m. Pacific time from Silicon Valley. I am Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators. And I'd like to remind you, as I always do, to please like, comment, and subscribe to these videos, to this channel. If this is helpful to you, please do let us know. We love the feedback, and we definitely read all of it. And we see the new members who are subscribing, so welcome, new members. Let's start out with our market analysis. So for those of you who are new, I always start out with the ES, which is the S&P 500. This is the current contract that we're dealing with. This is the March contract, which is going to be expiring in the next handful of weeks here. So we will be switching over to using the June contract very soon. But for the moment, still looking at the March contract, and this is just giving us a picture of the overall broad market. This is the S&P 500, and whenever the news or anybody talks about the market, more often than not, this is the market they're talking about. The S&P 500 is pretty much used as the benchmark. So the S&P is clearly in an uptrend. There's no question about it. It's been in an uptrend for a while. We've had this incredible push upwards from the bottom in December, and that's been great. But we have been due for a pullback for a little while now, especially given that we are in this area here. This is a critical area where we had previously what's called a triple top. 1, 2, 3. We had 3 attempts to get over this area and couldn't do it. So the likely outcome of that is if price gets up here again, it is probably going to fail again because the sellers probably are going to want to sell more. So combine that with the fact that we are at a significant what's called a retracement level, which is the 161.8. Let me actually move that a little bit so you can see it. There we go. We are at the 161.8% extension from this move here. So this distance here is 161.8% of this distance here. And that is also very pivotal. That is a very meaningful level. So we have been due for a pullback, and it looks like we're just starting to see it. Now, that being said, this is not a particularly violent move downwards. It's actually very, very small. These are pretty small ranges. And you can see they are dojis, doji, doji, which is when the price opens and closes at roughly the same area. When you've got this tall white wick here and then the little tiny, tiny thin bodies, those are called dojis. So that just shows indecision in the marketplace, and nobody's quite sure what to do. Everyone's nervous. And understandably so. Up at this level, there's reason to be nervous. So we can't get really excited about going higher from right here because we need to do a pullback to establish some kind of higher low somewhere and then be able to march higher, because markets move in patterns of higher highs and higher lows to the upside and lower lows to lower highs to lower lows to the downside. So that is what we need to see. We need to see this market pull back, form a higher low, then break the previous higher high, and then continue higher. So right now, I'm looking for a pullback, and on the 60-minute chart, the smaller time frame intraday, you can see the trend has begun to change. We had the pattern of higher highs and higher lows, and then we had a higher high and a higher low, and then we had a final higher high, and then we broke with this move here. We broke this previous higher low. And then we set a lower high. So we have a lower low, lower high, and now we have actually, again, broken the previous lower low. So there's no question at all right now in the short term, the trend is down, and you can see it right there on the 21 EMA very clearly. It's making lower low, lower high, lower low. The key level we're looking at next is going to be right here. This point here is very, very critical. That is going to be the last thing that tells us without a shadow of a doubt that we are correcting and we are going to head to a lower level, at which point I will be inclined to do a retracement of this section here and see where we might go. So assuming that we don't get higher than this, right now I am looking for a move to somewhere here, somewhere between the 50% and the 76.4 retracement. So that's what I am looking for. I'm going to actually get rid of this extension. Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. So assuming we don't break higher, this is the retracement I am looking at currently. So that's the S&P 500 right now, looking to the short side, looking to the downside. Or if you've got any profits from back here, I'd suggest now being a good time to consider taking them. Crude oil, of course, had a bit of a shock the other day due to political news, basically. So that was this red candle right here had a sudden shock down, but frankly, all that's done is create a higher low. So we are in a pattern of higher highs and higher lows anyway. Clearly, we've been in an uptrend, and now we have a higher low. And at the moment, anyway, it's looking like crude wants to attempt to move higher still. So if it can take out this level here, then it will establish that it is done moving to the downside and is ready to move to the upside. It's also holding beautifully at this trend line. I mean, notice that despite the news, where did the news push the price? Right to the trend line, right there. So price is simply continuing. In fact, actually, my trend line is somehow slightly off. Really, I ideally there. That's exactly where I would put it. It's right in the middle of that wick. But anyway, you get the idea. Is that price came down to the trend line and then held up. So it is very bullish. And right now we are looking for continuation to the upside. Or we're looking for a takeout of this low and a move down to form a higher low. As long as that low is higher than this low, then we are still looking to move to the upside. So right now, anyway, the bias is certainly up. You can see that even though we had that big shock down, the 21 EMA recovered very quickly and is now pushing to the upside. It just needs to get up over here and establish the move higher. So crude definitely overall looking pretty bullish. Hopped over the sell zone here. Of course, bounced hard off the buy zone back here. Let's take a peek at the gold market. Gold, also a beautiful pattern of higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, etc. So right now, gold also in a heck of a bullish uptrend. No question about it. 21 EMA is just, straight up like a rocket. And the key level that I'm looking for to really establish a serious bullish trend is going to be this one here. This about 1404, 1405 right in here. That is a very critical area, and if gold can get up past that, then we have a chance to see a really serious bull market emerge in gold, as opposed to just kind of bouncing around in the $1,000 to $1,400 range that it has been for quite some time. So right now, gold looking really good on the shorter term time frame. You can see it beautifully. It's just riding this trend line, just so well. Can I not zoom out any further? Okay, I can't zoom out any further. So you can see if I scroll back that it's just been higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, and it is continuing that trend. Right now, of course, it's moving sideways a bit, but that's what it does. It makes a big move, and then it has to digest that move, and then it makes another move, and then it has to digest that smaller move, and then makes a bigger move, has to digest the bigger move, another bigger move, gave back some of it, and now it's digesting that. So this is always the way the markets work. They move in this way. They make a big move, then they go sideways for a while. Remember that 70% of the time, markets are going sideways and not really trending in any particular direction. So remember that. Always remember 70% of the time, markets are not shooting up or shooting down. So be prepared for that and just know patterns of higher highs and higher lows to the upside, lower lows to lower highs to the downside. Okay, natural gas. Whoops, bumping the microphone here. Let's take a peek at natural gas. And natural gas is trying to be bullish. We've had a nice, we had a pattern of lower lows and lower highs. And now we've had this very nice curve form here. And at the moment, it's kind of looking like it wants to form what's called the cup and handle pattern, which is really nothing more than a failure to make a lower low and then a break of the previous lower high. So at the moment, that's what it's looking like. And then, of course, if it does come down here and form kind of the handle, then when it breaks higher and breaks over this level here, then everybody sees that. Everybody knows the trend has changed and is now time to go long. So it's looking like this could be forming that first higher low. If it comes down here and then starts to turn back up again, we'll have our first higher low. That is an excellent entry opportunity. And you can see it really just beautifully here on the 60-minute. How it's forming the handle of that cup. So keep an eye on that. We definitely want to watch for this to pull back, probably a little bit further, and then form a bottom and then head higher. So keep your eyes out for that. Now, of course, if something happens and the market just gets a shock of some kind, something scares all the people and it breaks this low here, then there can be continuation to the downside, and this would simply be another lower high right there. So just because this is forming does not give us any kind of guarantee to the upside. We have broken this downward trend line, which is a good sign. That is a potentially bullish indication because the trend is changing. You can see it on the 21 EMA. It is flattened out and is going sideways now. And of course, you can see it in the smaller time frame. It is actually turning around and pointing to the upside. So there is potential, but I mean, we've seen that before. Look, it came down here and turned around and went sharply straight up, and then it just came right back down again. So don't get too overly excited about this. Don't jump in on this all of a sudden too early. Wait to see what it wants to do. Let it set up a lower, or rather a higher low, that first higher low. And then when it's looking like it wants to move to the upside again from there, then you can think about wanting to go long for a break of this level. Of course, you could also wait until this level is broken. There's nothing really wrong with that. But if you do that, I would recommend waiting until that level breaks and then it comes back to kind of test as support and then moves higher, because that's typically what happens. Buying on the breakout can often hurt you because it breaks out just a little bit, then comes back again to test and then goes higher. And you could wind up, if you've got a very tight stop, you could wind up getting stopped out by that retest. So just watch carefully for those levels and trade accordingly. All right, let's finish up with crypto, Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin the other day, we had another one of these big sudden spikes up, but then we were just greeted with a huge spike down. Huge is relative. I mean, it's nothing compared to, these moves back here, right? So it's all relative. But compared to what we had lately, these little tiny candles, this was a pretty huge sudden move down. But for Bitcoin, it's really kind of normal. This is a pretty normal thing, and it actually, interestingly, has held right at that descending trend line. So it did break over the trend line. Then now it's come back, tested it as support, and it's holding. So this is a very good, potentially bullish sign. You could even put a trend line here, and you can see that right now it's riding this trend line. We have a shorter term pattern of higher highs and higher lows are forming. But we've got to get over this level here, this 1415, sorry, 4415 level. That is a very important level. Right now, we had come down and we had set a lower low, we had set a lower high, we had set a lower low, and now we haven't done anything. We've just been sideways since then, just stuck in this area here and not really going anywhere, not really developing a trend. So this could be one gigantic bottom, basically a giant accumulation pattern here that's going on. And if Bitcoin can break to the upside, then there could be some serious continuation to the upside. But right now, we just don't know. We have to wait and see what's going on. If you are an intraday trader, of course, there is volatility to be had. But the thing about Bitcoin is even more so than most other things. I mean, it has these big sudden moves and then sideways, right? Just like we were talking about a minute ago, and then a huge move and then sideways, and then a big move up, a huge move down, sideways. So it does the same pattern, but they are much, much sharper. When these big moves happen, they are so quick. They're usually one candle, and this is an hourly chart. So in 1 hour, it will do this kind of gigantic move. And then it'll sit there for days and not move a whole lot. So you got to be really cautious with Bitcoin because of the level of volatility. It's great if you can set yourself up for it. If you can see, okay, it's a pattern of lower lows and lower highs. I'm going to go, I'm going to go long here, stop right below the recent low, just in case it suddenly collapses to the downside. I better get out. If you can handle something like that, then by all means, it is a very tradable thing. But when it moves, it's so fast. You just got to be prepared for that and got to really be careful and protect yourself. So that is Bitcoin. Right now, no real direction to be had. All right, let's go take one last look at the S&P 500, and it's been kind of sleepy this morning. Not a whole heck of a lot going on. Now, overnight, the Europeans came online. I forgot to mention this part in my analysis. So Europe came online right here, and Europe clearly felt that the thing to do was push it down. So that's what they did. And now, it has been bouncing back up a little bit, but there's no question it is lower lows and lower highs. There's not a lot of enthusiasm. The trend is certainly down. So I am looking for continuation to the downside. And certainly if it breaks this level here, the low of the day so far, then that is a very good indication that it's going to want to head lower from there. So keep an eye on those levels. And that is it for me. So I'm going to get ready for my trading day ahead, get ready for our premium chat room. We'll be starting in there in about 15 minutes or so. So if you're hearing this and you are one of our students, hop over to the premium room and I'll see you there shortly. Once again, I'm Jonathan van Clute with Stock Navigators, reminding you to please like the video, comment on it if you got something to tell us, and subscribe to the channel so that you get notifications of when I'm going live in the future. And that is for the time being every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 5:45 a.m. Pacific, 8:45 a.m. Eastern. So until Friday, I wish you good trading. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.